The story starts with this 11-year-old dude living in a fantasy world full of magic and mysteries. But it wasn't always like that. He used to be a regular working-class guy from urban Japan, slaving away in a corporate job, taking orders from his idiot boss, stuck in an endless loop of corporate misery. He wakes up in front of 3 weird-looking folks who claim to be gods. They tell him about his death. One day, while he was snoozing, he sneezed in his sleep, causing him to fall off the bed and crack his head on the table corner, leading to a brain hemorrhage that did him in. What a lame way to go, and even he admits he's disappointed in such a pathetic way to kick the bucket. The gods say they're sending him to an alternate world, full of magic and fantasy, where he can live life on his own terms. He quickly agrees since he was already over his life on Earth anyway. As a parting gift, the gods also hook him up with the ability to use multiple forms of elemental magic, which is pretty rare. They explain they're putting him in the body of an 8-year-old kid, and from there on out, he's on his own. He bids them farewell and gets instantly transferred into the kid's body. When he wakes up, he finds himself in an unknown area, surrounded by lush forests and mountains. He walks over to a tree and kicks it, snapping it in half, realizing his body is that of a child, but his mind and strength are still from his previous life. While exploring, he spots a blue-colored slime that he instantly takes a liking to. It looks super cute. He quickly cracks open his guidebook and learns how to use magic, which allows him to tame the slime. Successfully, he makes the slime his familiar. 3 years have flown by, and Ryouma is still chilling solo in the forest. Over the years, he's collected 1,000 different kinds of slimes and loves studying them. Some of his slimes can make poison, some can wash dishes, and some can even take out the trash. He's been living a charmed life these past 3 years and hasn't bumped into a single human being. One day, while strolling through the woods, he hears a bunch of dudes shouting and goes to check out the situation. Turns out it's a group of guys who seem to be from the capital, and one of them is hurt, lying on the ground, bleeding like a stuck pig. This is the first time he's seen humans since he got reincarnated into this world, so he's a bit nervous to approach them. But seeing that one of the guys is bleeding out with no medical help nearby, he decides to step up. As soon as he tries to talk though, one of the dudes pulls out their sword and points it at him. He quickly blurts out that he has medicine, and the group's healer, who rarely comes near him, tastes the liquid and declares it to be legit medicine. He quickly feeds it to the injured guy, who starts breathing normally and drifts off to sleep. They thank Ryouma and tell him to follow them. On the way, they run into a bunch of slimes, and the guys draw their swords again, but Ryouma assures them they're his buddies. They reach a mountain and are confused, but suddenly Ryouma does some magic, and a secret door appears in the mountain wall. He invites everyone inside, and they're stunned that this 11-year-old kid could pull off such magic. The group's leader introduces himself as Reinhardt Jamil, a duke, which shocks Ryouma, and he immediately bows down. Reinhardt tells him to chill out since he's the one who saved them. The others introduce themselves as Camille, Zeph, and Jill, and tell him that the injured guy is Hughes. They let him know that while trying to travel through the forest, a bunch of bandits attacked them, and in the ensuing brawl, Hughes got hurt. Reinhardt looks at Ryouma and asks him about himself, as he's curious to know how an 11-year-old kid has been surviving in this forest, which is a dangerous place even for a trained dude. Ryouma quickly whips up a story about how he used to live with his grandparents, but 3 years ago, they both kicked the bucket, and he's been living solo in the forest ever since. Camille whips out a crystal ball from his backpack and asks Ryouma to touch it. He explains that if a criminal touches it, it turns red, otherwise it stays blue. And on top of that, it also tells you the person's age, gender, and race. Ryouma doesn't hesitate to touch the ball, and it turns blue, but it still shocks the other dudes because his stats are off the charts for a kid. The next day, Hughes is back on his feet, and the whole crew decides to hit the road. Hughes thanks Ryouma and tells him that if he ever needs anything, just head to the capital and ask for him. They go their separate ways, and 2 weeks fly by since Ryouma said goodbye to Reinhardt and his crew. While he's chilling out in the open with his slimes, he suddenly hears a familiar voice calling his name. He looks up to see Hughes walking towards him with the others, but this time, there are more people than before. Reinhardt approaches Ryouma and introduces him to his father and wife, who are both thrilled to see him and thank him for saving the crew's lives. He also introduces his daughter, Eliaria, who's almost the same age as Ryouma. Reinhardt's father is blown away by the number of slimes Ryouma has tamed, and Eliaria asks him how all these slimes fit in such a small house. Ryouma replies that they just combine together and become one big slime. He orders the slimes to merge, and hundreds of slimes join forces, forming a massive slime that totally shocks Reinhardt's wife, who's also a magician. She tells Ryouma that no one in recorded history has ever tamed a big slime. Ryouma invites everyone into his house and gives them a tour. Reinhardt presents him with a super expensive and fancy clock, which Ryouma graciously accepts as a token of gratitude. Reinhardt also tells him that besides expressing their gratitude, they also have a request for him. Suddenly, Eliaria gets up and tells Ryouma that her entire family is descended from great beast tamers, and she also wants to join their ranks one day. But she's never tamed a single beast in her life, and as soon as she heard about Ryouma, she wanted to learn more about slimes from him. She notes down how many slimes he has, and then points out that there are 2 slime species that haven't been recognized in any of the books. Even her mother, who's a very famous magician and beast tamer, tells him she's never even heard of a slime like that. Ryouma explains that they're known as the cleaner slime and the scavenger slime. The scavenger slime eats all the waste matter and even produces fertilizer for the plants, while the cleaner slime can clean any kind of dirt or grime from anything. To show how good they are, he pulls out a piece of cloth from a goblin he killed. The cloth is super dirty and grimy, but as soon as he puts it inside the cleaner slime, it starts washing it, and after a couple of seconds, an extremely clean cloth is produced. This completely surprises the maids of Jamil's family, because according to them, goblin's grime is one of the most difficult things to clean. This totally impresses Eliaria, who decides she wants her first slime to be a cleaner slime, and asks Ryouma to give her directions to catch one. Ryouma quickly draws up a map to a pond, where he says the slimes are spotted, but also warns them that they'll need to use bait to lure it out. He's a bit sheepish when she asks about the bait, but eventually spills that these slimes are attracted to body odor. The only way to catch one is to take a bath and collect the dirty water. Eliaria is a bit embarrassed, but she sucks it up and heads to the bathtub, determined to catch her slime no matter what. She washes up, collects the water, and sets off with her entourage to the pond, while Ryouma stays behind. A while later, Eliaria returns with the others, a big grin on her face, showing off the prized slime she caught. Everyone is super stoked, and they all have dinner together. Jamil's father asks Ryouma about his plans, and he replies that he's not really sure where he wants to go anymore. Jamil's father unexpectedly offers him to join their journey to another place. Ryouma is taken aback by the proposal to travel with the Duke's family. But when he sees their worn-out faces, he decides to take the plunge and agrees to travel with them. The next day, Reinhardt tells Ryouma to load everything he needs into the wagon. Instead, Ryouma replies that he knows storage magic and literally packs everything from his house into a magical storage, which again surprises everyone present as this kind of magic is very rare these days. Ryouma goes down into the basement one last time to say prayers to the statues of the gods he has erected there. He promises them that he will create a new set of statues for them when he reaches his destination. He sits inside the wagon alongside Reinhardt and his family, and finally his journey begins. Everything seems to be going great for the first few days, as they are able to travel long distances each day, put up tents for the night, make tasty food by the campfire, and sleep under the stars. But one evening, a nasty thunderstorm hits them. Camille starts calling for Reinhardt and informs him that there's been a landslide and they can't follow this way anymore. Their best bet is to go around, which will add at least 3 days to their journey. Ryouma overhears this and pulls out his raincoat, which he made with the help of the water-repellent properties of the slime. He runs out and creates a barrier for the other men standing in the rain so they don't get wet. Then, he starts chanting some spells. He uses a combination of earth magic to flatten out the landslide and create a path over it, saving them a bunch of extra travel days. Reinhardt is super pleased and thanks him again for his help before they set off on their journey again. They finally reach their destination, the city of Sealfall, and the Duke's family has offered Ryouma the chance to live with them, which he has accepted. The mines in this city have been reduced to a husk of their former selves, and Reinhardt has taken the responsibility to bring them back to their former glory. The first day, Jamil's family takes Ryouma to the church, where he will get baptized and show him his stats on the stat board. As soon as Ryouma places his stat board down, he gets transported to another dimension. He opens his eyes to find the god staring at him. At first, he thinks he's died again and asks if he's kicked the bucket. The gods reassure him that he's alive and well. They just wanted to chat, so they pulled him out of the world for a bit. They congratulate him on all the cool stuff he's done in the past 3 years. They've been following his every move, yo. They tell him that the reason no one recognizes the scavenger and cleaner slimes is because he created them himself. They also tell him that they've brought humans from Earth back to this world before. Eliaria's ancestors from both her father's and mother's side were reincarnated from Earth. On her father's side, they reincarnated a girl who wanted to be an animal trainer, and she ended up becoming one of the greatest beast tamers in this world. Eliaria seems to have gotten a lot of her awesome genes from her. On her mother's side, the gods reincarnated a guy who was a total geek and asked for combat abilities that no one could beat. He could have done a lot of bad stuff, but he was too shy to leave his house and ended up dying of old age. They chat for a bit more before the gods say goodbye and tell him that if he ever wants to talk to them, he just needs to drop by the church and pray. He thanks them for their advice and support before he gets sent back to his world. The Duke's family welcomes him when he exits the room, and Reinhardt's father gives him some words of wisdom. He tells him that he's super strong and skilled for his age, which will make a lot of less than decent people jealous. It'll be his job to figure out who's good and who's bad and choose for himself. He also tells him to hide his strength as much as possible and join a guild to rank up and make a name for himself. Eliaria asks him about his magic capacity and how he controls his magic. He reveals that he has a magic capacity of 198,000. The princess nods her head and reveals that she has a magic capacity of 200,000, which surprises Ryouma. She tells him that people who are born with an insanely high magic capacity often have trouble controlling their magic and have to learn ways to manage it. But for some reason, Ryouma is able to use magic very efficiently. They go to a beast taming place that has a ton of trainers, but they refuse to take Ryouma in because he only tames slimes, which aren't very compatible with other beasts. Reinhardt tells Ryouma not to get discouraged because he has more qualities of an adventurer, like combat skills and survival instincts. They then go to an adventurer's guild, where he has to take a test. A super intimidating guy comes to test Ryuma's skills and gives him a bow and arrow. He tells him to hit all 5 targets without missing a single arrow and backs off. Ryouma takes out his arrows and starts shooting them at an incredible speed. He ends up hitting every single target without fail, and not only that, he's also able to hit the bullseye on every single target. The next task has Ryouma hitting multiple moving targets at once. This time, instead of 5 targets, there are 50 targets. The targets start popping out of the machine like crazy, and to everyone's surprise, Ryouma starts shooting them down even faster than before. He hits every single target without fail, and for the last 4 targets, he manages to shoot 4 arrows at once, hitting every single target. As soon as he's done, the dude throws a knife at him, but Ryouma catches it and throws it back at him before jumping in to attack. The dude tells him to stop and explains that it was a test of his survival instincts. Ryouma is the first person to not only dodge the attack, but also attack back. The guy reveals that he's the leader of the guild and tells Ryouma that he's been accepted into the guild. He's given the rank of E to start, and the guy also advises him to check the job board for any openings at his level. Ryouma goes and spots a job listing that's looking for someone to clean up a house. He thinks to himself that this is the perfect job for him and his scavenger and cleaner slimes. He takes the job, and the next day, he packs up his slime and heads over to the house. An older cat girl named Mia answers the door when he knocks on it. As soon as she opens the door, a horrible stench comes out of the house. She grabs Ryuma's hands and starts crying, thanking him for taking the job. The smell makes Ryouma realize that this is a bigger problem than he thought. Thanks for watching, please subscribe, and see you on the next episode. Love you guys.